that's on the issue of video sharing platforms. And this is a key issue here, which I have real problems with the government's approach. So we have in this country a situation where young children at the age of 8, 9, 10 years of age are consuming hardcore and violent pornography on a daily basis in this country. Young boys are growing up on a diet of violent, hardcore pornography. And then we ask ourselves why there's a doubling in sexual assault in the last 10 years. We ask ourselves why is there a doubling of rape in the last 10 years? Is there a tripling of domestic violence in the last 10 years? But the fact of the matter is the ingredients that we're giving young boys, especially in terms of understanding relationships and sexuality, is directly leading to the level of sexual violence that happens in our society at the moment. The government is wise enough to seek to ban the advertising of junk food for children because they know that when children see adverts for junk food, they eat junk food. But the government is refusing to do anything about stopping young children consuming hardcore pornography in this country. I have a mother tell me recently that she picked up the laptop, she looked at the last 2 searches that were made by her young 10-year-old child, one for Santa Claus and the other for oral sex. And it was an explicit video in relation to that. Now, the juxtaposition of those 2 elements within a young child's brain is incredible, but it's a reflection of the lack of action in this government, Minister. And I would like you to take heed of these points, because I've made them over and over again, and the government still are shying away from seeing the link between this and the fact that we are living in a more violent society. Other countries have done it. France has introduced legislation to ban children consuming hardcore pornography. They've said to tech companies, if you want this material available on the website, you need to 100% guarantee that you know the age of the person who's consuming this material. They've even provided a digital certificate, a state digital certificate, to ensure that that can be done. And companies who refuse to this are taken down. We in Aontú produce a bill. That bill looks to do the same thing. The mad thing is, we'll do it for money in this country. So a film studio can go to the courts and demand that the courts take down copyright material from the internet in this country, because it obviously does damage to their income flow in this country. And judges do that on a regular basis. They go to the internet service providers, the Aircoms, the Vodafones, and they demand that those websites are being taken down. But nobody is demanding that we take down the damaging material that young children are consuming on a daily basis here. And I raised it with the Minister, and the Minister says, no, wait, we're going to deal with it. We're going to deal with it in this new Digital Services Bill. But if you look at the bill only looks at video sharing platforms, which is a tiny element of the whole of the internet, that are based in Ireland. So the government's complete plan to try and control this harmful material is to deal with maybe about 5 or 6% of it. Now, it's, all of the talk that we hear in this chamber on a regular basis, when we see young women being murdered, when we see horrendous situations like the Anna Corriedel case, where we had 2 young boys viciously sexually assault a young girl and murder her, all of the talk and anguish and anger that happens does not lead to one effort by the government to actually solve the crisis. Why can't the government join the dots in this, Minister? Why? How long is it going to take for the government to join the dots between the material that young boys especially are consuming and the level of sexual violence that's happening in this country? And this is, I think it's an absolute disgrace that we're seeing a situation where this bill is being brought through without any real effort to tackle this. If you look at CARI is an organisation that deals with children at risk in Ireland, and they've stated that there's been a 44% increase in the level of sexual assault of children on children. So not only are we making victims of kids and children around the country, we're actually making perpetrators of sexual violence of children in this country as well. And then the government says, well, it's up to the parents to deal with this. Yes, it's up to the parents to stop children drinking vodka at the age of 10 years old, but we also have a law to say that off-licenses shouldn't sell the vodka to the children at the age of 10 years old. Why are you sitting on your hands, Minister, when it comes to this issue? Like, it's just so frustrating that over and over again, the government is refusing to take any opportunities that come their way in terms of dealing with this issue. Like, the last time I spoke to the Minister, on this, she said, well, the European Union wouldn't allow us to do it. And I gave the example of the French government doing this. The link is clear. If you look at the English Ombudsman for Children, they have done extensive research on this, and Minister, I'd really urge you to read that document, extensive research that shows the direct link by the material that your government allows to be consumed by 10, 11 and 12-year-old boys and the level of sexual violence that's happening in society. And, you know, in previous decades, we saw sexual assault and sexual abuse in institutions. And the sad thing about it was that many actually people knew about it within society at the time. It's happening today, not necessarily institutions, but in families and in locations around our country, and everybody knows about it, and the government's still doing nothing about it. I would implore you, Minister, will you take this issue seriously, will you do the research on it, and will you make sure that the government has a response? Good morning.